Very happy 2014 and welcome to Money Info. Brought to you by Princeton Research with Mike King in Las Vegas, Charles Moskowitz in wonderful, toasty Boston, Massachusetts. Well, I'll tell you, Charles, I'm getting my broadcast partner back for the basketball. Didn't have him on Saturday because his flights were canceled out of Connecticut to get down here. He finally got down here last night. So, we'll be together tomorrow night. But, you guys just got slammed.
And, my mother was up here from Florida for a week and a half. And
yeah?
She had a 2:50 flight out of JFK on Sunday.
Yeah.
And, it left 55 minutes late, but it got out.
Really?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Really lucky.
She is the only person. There are a couple people that are going to be doing some tower work down at our sister station at WSTU later tonight, and they're snowed in Chicago. They can't get out. And it's like that all over the place. Of course,
they're talking about people waiting online, being told that they'll get out on the 11th.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and that's very common. I was talking to somebody else who was trying to get out of Hartford, and they're giving them Friday and Saturday at the earliest out of Hartford. I can't stand that airport anyway. But
I was going to say anybody who flies out of there deserves what they get.
Well, see, we had to at ESPN. I mean, we didn't really have that many options, but oh man. So, Michael, you are in the hub of all sorts of activity starting today. The big worldwide consumer electronics convention is going on in Las Vegas, and all hell's breaking loose. Supposedly, anywhere between 150,000 and 175,000 registrants for this convention. So
this will be a record.
Yeah.
And the weather here is fantastic. I mean, we haven't had a cloud in the sky in a week.
Wow.
So, and during the day, it gets up to 70 degrees sometimes.
Yeah.
Minimum of 60.
Yeah.
And we can keep our doors open.
Listen to him. Well, so can Charles. Except it would be 5 below inside his house.
Hey, speaking about the Consumer Electronics Show, there's a clip that they've played just unmercifully of Michael Bay. I can't remember what movie he did, but he did some fairly serious movie stuff. Very big guy.
Yeah.
And evidently, he was giving a speech this morning.
Oh, no.
And the teleprompter quit.
Yes.
and he was talking about, kind of the how and why he does what he does in the manner that he does it.
Uh-huh.
And was completely stumped. Couldn't do it. Stop. I mean, if you're I can understand if you're talking about something in some historical context where you may not be 100% up on what the content of that is. But when you're talking about something that, is the reason that you do it, to not be able to even speak was pretty extreme. And as I said, they are playing it to death on all of the stations.
Oh, yeah.
CNBC's, I've seen it 4 times already.
That's funny. That is funny. Yeah. Well, it's the old you live by the teleprompter, you die by it, and
live by the sword, die by the sword.
You bet. Yeah, and if you're not prepared, boy, it shows. There's no doubt about it. So let's see, Fox Business reporting, the Commerce Department says the U.S. trade gap narrowed to $34.25 billion in November, the lowest since October of 2009. And it wasn't a small decrease. I mean, it was a decrease of over $2 billion, I think I saw. Yeah. Now, didn't I see something like that in the Princeton Research newsletter?
Yeah, we've been publishing that the fundamentals, all the fundamentals have been getting much better, and they better,
Mm-hmm.
to substantiate the tremendous amount of money that's been created. But not only are the deficits coming down, but our exports are going up, and we're becoming less oil dependent on the Mideast.
Aw.
So everything is good here.
Yeah.
And we'll know more this week, of course, with all the big employment reports. But today was second day down on the TBT, which is the opposite of bond yields, and it's quite possible that they're a buy today. Bonds yields going up can be the fly in the ointment that puts a halt to the big rally that we're having. But 2 days down, and the market was a buy again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oil down around 94 thereabouts.
93.78.
Yeah.
And we'll keep in mind our guest today is Target Energy from
Yeah.
Australia, but they're drilling in Texas, in the Permian Basin, and in Louisiana. And they're doing a tremendous job. They have really shown us up. They are getting tremendous results, unbelievable results. The stock is a screaming buy in the $4 area. And unfortunately, it jumped to $4.70 yesterday. But it's an ADR, and Ross Dinsdale will be calling in.
And Mike, that's a 10 for 1, isn't it? Versus the stock in Australia, the ADR.
I think
Because
so.
doesn't
I
the
think it's
stock
100
trade?
to 1.
Oh, okay, right.
I think it's 100 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, Charles, since this is our first show of 2014, can you bring us up to date on how you did in 2013? Again, these are figures that are in the Princeton Research weekly newsletter that you can pick up at princetonresearch.com.
The options only account was up 284%. That's up from last year's 171%, and that's up from the prior year's 77%, but the prior year was really only 33 weeks, so because that's when we started trading the smaller options only account.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a very short year. Yeah.
Right, and the big account, the stocks, the $100,000 account, which is both stocks and options, was up well over 50%, again, about the same as the year before. And, you hear about all these people, all these hedge funds and stuff that are, you hear about the Paulsons and everything who have dramatic increases, 60, 70, 80%, but, most funds did not do as well as the S&P for the year. And,
Right.
We pretty much crushed it by a factor of 2.
Well, that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, again,
And it's your third year running.
Right.
exactly, Mike. Yep. Well, now, again, how can folks get in touch with you guys as far as getting involved with all of this?
Well, certainly they can go to the Princeton Research website,
Yep.
or they can call Mike in Las Vegas at 702-650-3000, or they can call me here in Boston at 781-826-8882. So it's pretty easy. And of course, the Princeton website has, all of the information for signing up. It also has, a log of the previous radio shows, including the podcasts, and access to the texting service. It's all right there at princetonresearch.com.
Yep. Sounds great. Yeah. Now, Charles, you're you've got a BlackBerry. I know that. But,
yeah, right. I do have one.
I know
it's been in a drawer for 3 years.
Well, yeah. But are you an Apple person, or
Absolutely.
you are?
Well, I shouldn't say it like that. I have. I've not had anything but Apple iPhones since they came out. I've had every one of the incarnations except the new 5S because there's just not enough change in it for me to be bothered with, redoing it. But yeah, I love the Apple ecosystem, and I'll tell you, I have been traveling a fair amount to New York. And, you take the iPhone in some of these newer cars. I tend to rent cars because I have a classic BMW that I don't take out of the garage during the winter.
Yeah, smart move.
Yeah, but it's really a pleasure with, Bluetooth and everything. You get in the car, it pairs up with the car.
Yep.
You can listen to music. You can hands-free. And in fact, where Gary is, it's not here in Massachusetts yet, but, as you come from Rhode Island into Connecticut, there's a big sign that says hands-free only. And so, it's...
Yeah.
I just enjoy the Apple products. I think they're very intuitive and easily used.
Now, Mike, are you Apple or Android person?
Well, I'm an Apple person, but just yesterday I had bought my wife the new Samsung combination.
Ah, okay, yeah.
With the wristwatch, and she can call me on her wrist like Dick Tracy, and she gets everything on her wrist. She doesn't have to pull out the cell phone and do everything to get it started. It's just automatic. It's right on her wrist.
Wow.
It's unbelievable what Samsung has accomplished.
Yeah.
They are definitely the leader.
Well, I'll tell you guys, this just came out on CNBC that they were comparing the Android devices to Apple, and Gartner Group is reporting that 1 billion, we're talking billion Android devices will be shipped in 2014 versus 344 million Apple iPhones and Macs this year, according to the Gartner Group. So kind of intriguing. So between Mike King and Charles Moskowitz, you've got the best of all worlds in a way. That's very cool. Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, Mike, because I'm looking at going from a, believe it or not, a notebook to a tablet for our ball games and stuff like that. Would that happen to be Ross Dinsdale?
Nope, it's me. I got disconnected.
Oh, it's
somehow.
you. Oh, well.
Yes, sir.
Well, see, your phone lines are freezing.
Yeah, maybe.
These are new numbers. I'm sure Ross is trying to call in from Australia.
There you go.
On our new toll-free number from Australia, and I don't know if he's having trouble getting in.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Mike. This line is so much better than what you guys had in the past. I mean, this is this is a wonderful, wonderful conference system. So this is going to be good. But Mike, what do you see? I mean, we're just basically kicking off 2014. I mean, both you and Charles. What are you guys kind of zeroing in on?
A lot of volatility coming up. You're seeing it already. Dramatic moves in Netflix, Apple, and if it happens in Google, if Google breaks 1100, there's a lot of possible negativities, but we have to keep our eyes on interest rates. If the Fed can keep interest rates where they are and prevent them from catapulting, the rally can continue. It all depends on the cost of money.
Mike, how much of a rally? How much do you think is left? I mean, it's 16,000. It's pretty high up there in the stratosphere.
Well, we have no idea. We can't judge with our simple notebooks just how high is high. Like, no one thought Google would go to 1,100, but it could go to 1,300. We don't know how high is high, how high this market can go. It depends on monetary policy and the fundamentals, which we'll be seeing this week.
Yep.
The fundamentals have been slowly getting much better here.
Okay, and I think, Ross, did you just join us?
I think Gary dropped off for some reason.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, you're still here?
Oh, Gary's with us. Oh,
The
hello,
line is
Gary.
Fantastic. Yeah, hi. The line is terrific. Very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's I'm just amazed. I didn't realize your area of Connecticut had telephone systems.
We do.
Oh,
We have
okay.
them. They're old, but they work.
It's a booth, right?
Yes, exactly. Put a quarter in. Hey, fellas, before you were mentioning about 10 minutes ago about oil and oil dropping, I don't know if anyone caught what was in the New York Times in the auto section. Oregon is going to start to tax people based on the mileage they go in their vehicle.
Yes.
Because they're losing money because cars are more efficient. Well, Jesus, wasn't that what we were told by our government we need to do? Have more efficient cars. So believe it or not, I guess you shouldn't if you know Connecticut. Even in Connecticut, on the far left of our government, there are people now saying, well, gee, we don't have tolls in our state, and we can't get tolls passed, but maybe we can watch what Oregon does, and if it works, we could start taxing people here based on the amount of miles they drive using a modern GPS system to determine what that is. I mean, that's just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already gone
Well, it
through.
just shows you how much trouble some of these states and local governments are in.
Yeah, well, it's gone through a couple of assembly hearings in the state of California, and and obviously California looking very close to its neighbor to the north to see how this works. Yeah, I was so shocked that Oregon, but having friends in the state of Washington, they're looking at the same thing, and it's that's going to be a business killer. It is just going to be a business killer. I don't know. It's hysterical because what happens when we have the electric car, if you will, and which could be 20 years away. What are they going to do? And what we have heard now are the recycling taxes. Have you heard about those?
No, I haven't. What is that?
And I think your state is part of it. I think Connecticut has been talking about it.
If there's a tax, the state is on the forefront of it.
Yeah.
Well, we used to joke about Taxachusetts, but Connecticut
is...
Oh, yeah.
And it's nasty.
Yeah, it's 1 and 1A, man. When it comes to taxes, your two states.
I think the only place that is worse is somebody who lives and works in New York City and has to pay all three taxes.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
And those taxes are going higher now with Mayor de Blasio because that's his...
Hey, yeah, but, they're going to do away with some, serious stuff in New York, like, the horse and carriage rides.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, what's very interesting is that this recycling tax would be, since you are, you've got, one of these cars, the hybrids, that you should be able to afford to pay a tax when you recycle your batteries, since you have not been paying the gas taxes. And therefore, the recycling tax they're discussing is pretty stiff.
Stiff.
It's supposedly about 3 or 4%.
Wow.
Yeah.
These people are so creative to come up with taxes. They'd be better off if they tried to come up with jobs that people need. I mean, I know our state here, there's really, no matter what Governor Malloy says, things are really tough in this state. And by taxing and raising taxes, they just push small companies out of here left and right. I mean, I'm pretty well plugged into the hedge fund community and to a lesser extent the state government here. And they just don't get it. They just think, okay, we have a shortfall, we need money, what should we do? I know, let's raise taxes. And it just makes the opposite effect. Then people leave and there's less money to bring in total. Very frustrating to be in this.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been to New York and back 3 times in the last month and a half, and from exit 30 or so, or actually just the other side of Bridgeport, so from 25 to New York City, I see an awful lot of Teslas there.
Yes, well, we have a lot of Teslas in town here.
And I see every single, I mentioned it, you weren't on, but at the end of the year I had made a couple of trips, and, they're redoing all of your service plazas, and every single one of them has either 2 or 4 Tesla charging stations in them.
That's true. You by the way, you mentioned that you go into New York. I had a meeting there just a few days ago. For the listeners that don't have to pay tolls, just to enter New York and come back requires $17.50. That's not to go from Connecticut to New York, but that's
in New York.
New York.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I took my son back to Brooklyn on Sunday, and I forgot my Easy Pass from the car because I was driving a rental. And I forgot my Easy Pass, and I'll tell you, I went straight into Brooklyn and turned around and went straight back, and it was $7.50 each way on the Triborough Bridge. And I don't really, it's not that I don't pay for it when I have the Easy Pass, but when you put your hand in your pocket twice in, 45 minutes for $7.50, I mean, there are a lot of places that have tolls that are only one way into. Not New York. They get you both ways on every single bridge.
And then that other one toll for $1.75.
Oh yeah, right. Where at exit 17 in New York. Yep.
And
I think that's why people are voting with their feet. And they move to Texas, they move to Florida, they move to the Carolinas. That's what we see here in our state. People leave. They take their businesses, they're 25, 35, 45 people businesses, and they just pack up and leave.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that on CNBC they've been running a lot of ads for New York State. Evidently, there are a bunch of tax-free zones now that they're trying to bring businesses into the state.
Especially
and, I've seen it before. I've seen it in, like you say, in Texas or in the Carolinas. This is the first time I've seen it in New York. And, I mean, I see the ads a lot.
Yeah, wow.
They've been pushing them for upstate because upstate's been hammered with unemployment rate far greater than 9%. I heard it was almost 10.5% in Albany. So what they're trying to do is figure out, well, how can we get the jobs to come here?
Yeah, right.
Yep. Well, I know one thing, guys, as we were discussing, Ross has joined us from lovely Perth, Australia, former home of the America's Cup competition. Ross Dinsdale, hey, welcome to Money Info. Whoops. Ross, are you there?
Ross called in on your regular line.
Yeah, I guess he must, and he dropped off that line.
Somehow, this new conference number isn't working from Australia, the number they gave me, so I'm going to have to check with them after the show.
Okay. Okay, let me see.
He called your regular line.
Yeah, they'll I would imagine, run it in here and just let us know if he is back on line 1, because when I went to him, he wasn't there. So anyway, we'll try and hook things up.
Yeah, he's a big part of the company in Perth, Australia. And that's the headquarters, although all their drilling is in America.
Uh-huh.
And they've gotten just outstanding results beyond what other people are getting here in America. In other words, their geologists, their physicists are definitely outstanding.
Yep. Well, and let's try and bring him into our conversation. Ross, a very pleasant good morning, and welcome from beautiful Perth, Australia.
Thanks, Mark. It's good evening from us here in Australia. I understand things are pretty chilly your way this time of year.
All right. What's the weather like in Perth?
It's actually been around 40 degrees Celsius over here for the past few weeks, so it's been really hot. And we spend most of our time trying to cool ourselves down by going to the beach or finding an air conditioner.
Well, see,
That's 110 Fahrenheit, right?
yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's warm. Well, you know, actually, the one thing, Ross, is that Charles does the same thing. I mean, Charles is doing that in Boston right now. So he
Oh, right.
yeah, he likes -5 at the beach, you know.
Yeah.
So, so how are things going with Target Energy? You know, Mike was giving us a little update a little bit earlier in the show. What's going on with you guys?
Well, we're really pleased the way we finished 2013. We had a couple of good initial results from wells we were drilling. We drilled a well called Wagga Wagga 1, and you'll have to excuse us for these bizarre names, but they're actually names of Australian cities. Our operator chose to name our cities, our wells rather, after Australian cities. So we've got a Sydney well, a Darwin well, and we've recently added a Wagga Wagga well. And that well actually looks pretty good to us on our initial analysis, and we're looking to complete that early this year. But really what was a highlight for us in an operational sense was our drilling of the Sydney 2 well. That well in particular looked very prospective to us. It was a big, thick section of reservoir relative to our previous well there, and all the reservoir properties look really good. So we're hopeful that well can be a good producer for us.
That sounds great. Of course, you're gonna have to figure out if you have some new wells in Louisiana how you can work in Duck Dynasty and maybe take some of their name. No, I'm just that's terrible.
I'll take your guidance on that.
That's it. Well, you know, tell us. You know, when Michael had mentioned, I had forgotten that you guys were also working seriously working Louisiana as well.
Yeah, that's right. We have some conventional oil and gas assets in Louisiana, and we've tried our best to get after some of those assets and follow up with some early success we had. We've got a well or a field which is of particular interest to us called the East Chalkley field, which is in Cameron Parish in Louisiana, and that field to us is particularly interesting because there's around about 4 million barrels of recoverable resources there. That's a 3C case, recoverable position. And we think we'll be able to enter that field and drill a couple of water injector wells, and hopefully that'll lift production and recovery rates from that field. So we think that's a field which we're particularly excited about. Some of our other assets in the region are producing gas, and we don't have any current plans to drill any more wells on those leases.
Michael, some questions for
the
Ross?
Fairway project, you have several projects in the Permian that are having tremendous yields. Like the Fairway project, for example, that's picked up 350 barrels a day, I believe. Wolfberry,
yes, that's right, yep.
In other words, the results that you're getting in the Fusselman, the barrels of oil per day are just increasing dramatically to a point that, well, you should be up to, what do you expect to be up to in 2014?
Well, to give you a sense of where we're going, we think we can, by the end of the year, lift our production 2 to 3 times, which is very significant for a company of our size. So we're currently 350 or thereabouts gross net to us. At the end of the last reported quarter was closer to 215 barrels. We're hopeful we can lift that up 2 to 3 times over the course of the year.
Now, Ross, are you guys on calendar year, or when is your year end?
We work on a June fiscal school year end.
Okay. Yep.
But that's the number, I think, for the full year, 2 to 3 times the calendar year, rather.
Boy, that's awesome. Charles,
Yep.
questions?
It's just amazing how quickly they've brought all these wells on. The production is growing so fast, especially in the Permian, where there are so many productive zones, like in the Wolfberry and Fusselman. That's the Wolfberry section, I believe, has 11 separate zones. And so if they're producing 1,000 barrels a day, you can just see that's not too shabby. That's a tremendous income. The company will be making very substantial money, and the stock is very cheap here.
Yeah, well, Charles, tell us a little bit about your impressions of where the stock is right now.
We may have lost Charles to the cold.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. we may have. Yeah, Ross, your impressions as we head into 2014.
We're certainly very pleased with how we've performed operationally in 2013. We're looking to drag some of that momentum forward into 2014. Indeed, we've announced to market that we've got a 9-well drilling campaign in 2014, the calendar year. That's a 50% step up in the number of wells we drilled relative to 2013, so it's a significant increase. One would assume that production will increase, as I mentioned, 2 to 3 times is our goal. Cash flows should increase in line with production, and our reserve position will continue to evolve as we get some of those wells brought on stream. So things are looking good for Target. We certainly hope that we can get some support amongst the financial community. We've noticed that our share price, notwithstanding all our good operational news, has actually declined over this period of time. So we're working pretty hard to make sure people understand where we are, why we're in a really good position, and why we think we'll continue to grow in 2014.
And Ross, folks can do a little bit of research on your website. That's targetenergy.com.au.
That's correct, and also encourage people to read some of our public filings. There's some good information there on the Permian Basin itself, and then more specifically about Target Energy.
And they can also go to Target Energy USA.
Okay.
Right. And because all of their drilling is in America.
Right. Yeah, that's right, Mike.
But they do have their main stock trades in Australia, TEXQY.AX, I believe. It's on the Australian market. And the ADR in America is 100 times value. So I believe, what did it close at in Australia? Around 5 cents?
It was closer to 4.5 in today's trade.
And in America, it's around $4.70. $4.70. So it's 100 times.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, that's some good stuff. Gary, are you still on the line?
I got dropped off again.
Yeah. Charles, questions.
What's the symbol for the stock, Mike?
Well, in Australia, on Yahoo, it's TEX.AX, and that's for the Australian market.
And for here?
In the U.S. market, it's TEXQY in the American market.
TEXQY.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's very cheap when you consider the value of the reserves. They have tremendous reserves, and momentum of the drilling is improving day by day. So their growth rate is such that the stock looks very cheap.
Mm-hmm. Charles, questions for Ross?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not a one. I mean, I like the business. I like where they are. I think that they have kind of an interesting attitude about, where they drill and the way that they drill. And so, like Mike says, I think it's very cheap also.
Yeah,
and
it seems like the one thing, Ross, that really comes to mind, and we've had over the last 8 years that we've done the show, 8 or I guess 9 now, that the Permian Basin just seems like that's the ultimate Christmas gift that keeps on giving, as far as wells go.
We'd certainly like to think so. And really that is a distinguishing feature relative to some of these other U.S. resource plays, which is that there are so many oil-bearing reservoir zones there. Some of them are unconventional reservoirs. Some of them are conventional reservoirs. There's so many zones there that you can complete in and extract oil from. And it is predominantly an oil-rich basin. So the economics of operating in that basin are very good. There's a lot of infrastructure in place. There's a lot of experienced contractors in place. And as I mentioned, the geology is fantastic. So that is why we're there in a big way. And that's why we'll continue to stay focused in that region.
Ross, for total neophytes, what's the difference between conventional and unconventional drilling? Is the unconventional the newer stuff?
It is relatively newer on the scene, but in simple terms, the difference between conventional and unconventional oil and gas is simply reservoir quality. So in a conventional landscape, you've got nice porous rock, so there's void spaces where the oil and gas can migrate through the rock.
Mm-hmm.
In unconventional landscape, the rock is spaced closer together and there's less area for the hydrocarbons to migrate through the rock, so you need to break it open with fracking.
Right. Yeah, well, that sounds great. Well, you're obviously in the right place in the Permian Basin, that's for sure. Michael, any other questions for Ross?
No, Ross, thanks for calling in, and I'm going to get straight the toll-free line, which was supposed to be working. So thanks for calling in. And
my pleasure, guys. Thank you.
All right, Ross, have a good evening.
Okay, take care.
All righty, yeah, it's, let's see, as far as Ross goes, let's see, it's 7:45 in the evening, so he's probably just about ready to leave for dinner when, meanwhile, Mike and Gary and I are here, and it's not even lunchtime yet. So they're
What if they have Applebee's there?
What if they have Applebee's there? You're brutal. Well, you know what? The way we've messed up the entire world with fast food, it would not surprise me if they have Applebee's in Perth.
You know what I was amazed about? Because I was down there with my granddaughter. I was in Times Square, and it's funny that you mentioned Applebee's. Some of these places, Applebee's, TGI Fridays, etc., they occupy pretty solid real estate in Times Square. And what they did was they took Applebee's and Fridays and a couple of the others, and they had parties there at their location, including dinner.
Oh, smart move.
$1,100 for a couple.
Whoa.
Wow. $650 per person at a different one,
Whoa.
I just cannot imagine an Applebee's.
That's a heck of a hamburger.
Yeah, that was
really.
Yeah.
But it was unbelievable, and I guess they, the Applebee's one I know was sold out because it was sold out the week before. But can you imagine being in Times Square and paying that kind of money for a party at an Applebee's?
I hope they got onion rings with that. $1,100 for Applebee's?
Yeah. Yep.
Whoa.
TGI Fridays, $650 per person.
Hey, Mike, I hope that's not going to dissuade you from spending $110,000 for that fancy new curved TV that will be at that display.
That's right.
Because I'm kind of hoping Mike to come and visit to see that TV in your room, and that
Oscar will get one.
I mean, that's going to be quite the television.
You'll have to visit Oscar because he'll have one.
That's right. Yeah, Oscar.
That's probably right.
You know what? Oscar's crazy enough where he'd probably have about 10 of those, and he'd just do the whole sin around thing or whatever. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would not be a surprise at all. But,
my brother's flying out to the trade show as he owns auto electronic establishments, and he said the people come from every corner of the earth. And he said the things that are there, some of the new products, he said, are just breathtaking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually what we're looking at in our industry is now for a 4D, if you will. It's because
3D was such a success.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, I know.
What is 4D? How would that work?
It's even more high def, which means if you're a little older like me, your days in television are over. Because no makeup in the world is going to help you with the 4D setup. But it's going to be truly amazing, and the downside to all of that is that there still is no remote equipment, i.e. sports stuff, that can handle that. So there may be a few little shows that are done like that, but
there's no content yet. Huh?
No. Well, there's no equipment yet on the camera side, so. They're developing it. And I'm sure they're going to release some of it over the next 3 days there. The big thing, I think, that is going to be released in maybe less than an hour is coming from, of all people, and, of course, Charles and Mike talked about this 8 or 9 years ago, is OnStar is coming back in big fashion.
Oh, yeah.
This time, it's they're really the days of the, quote, car radio. And, of course, we learned this at the NAB radio show in September. They're over. There are no more car radios. It's all going to be media center. It's all going to be app-related. So if you have, say, a conventional radio station like R3, if you don't have apps on them, you will not get in the new cars. Period. It's a changing world, and it's changing in a hurry. And the 12,000 radio stations and 6,000 television stations had better move along quickly because it's we've got to stay with it. So yeah,
it's funny that you say that, Greg, because on my way back on Sunday from New York, I had to call my sister on Long Island to look up on her computer what the Westwood One station was in Hartford, and then again what it was in Eastern Connecticut and Rhode Island, just so that I could listen to the football game.
You could do that.
And as I was driving, it was occurring to me, why the heck doesn't Westwood One take a number and use it for all of their radio stations in a region? But what you're talking about now, about the entertainment center and the fact that all of these cars are, now going to have Wi-Fi or whatever, kind of negates that.
Yeah.
But you can clearly see what some of the uses are. And, of course, the high-ticket items, cost-wise, which generally are sports, is, clearly the first way that we'll start to see it.
Yeah. And what's very interesting, do you guys remember back in the, let's see, when did we go to tape? It was 76, I think, when they had the old, the Betamax versus
Oh, yeah. Betamax versus VHS.
Yeah, right. Well, and of course, Beta on the television news side won out, but it didn't anywhere else. And so anyway, long story short, there was World War III going there. The downside is that if you look at Ford and their sync system and this brand new OnStar system that they're going to announce today, and if you look at Lexus and you look at the Chrysler systems, they're all different. That is going to be the downfall of all of this. Somehow, some way, somebody's got to get together on the same page because, as stations, we can't afford to create, 20 different apps for 20 different car companies.
Well, it flies in the face of building an infrastructure.
Exactly.
Because nobody's going to build 6 of them.
Exactly. And and actually it's funny because Tesla, when we were in the Tesla and looking at their system, they can absorb anything.
Right.
And so it's like they've really got, I don't know what system they're using, but whatever they're using, it's mind-boggling. And they can accept anything. And, that's where the rest of them have to go because they're not there. And that's going to be the deterrent, if you will. But, we all have to realize as broadcasters that apps are the way to go and, and forget about the car radio in a very short period of time. And
the other thing is that I was thinking about is CDs, which were absolutely, leading edge.
What? CDs?
Are pretty much useless.
You can't get them anymore.
Well, you can get them and everything, but, why would you if you could download it?
Yeah,
unless you just want a backup.
I mean, my daughter's 15 and 14. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen them use a CD. They just download and listen.
Yeah.
And as far as radio, they don't even ask to listen to the car radio because they've downloaded music and they listen to their own
iPods,
personal taste in the
Yep.
car, which is
Yep,
fine
yep.
for me. I listen to talk radio, so I don't care.
Well, and see, that's the other wrinkle in all of this stuff too, is the whole iPod generation, and yeah, you're right. It's rapidly changing, yeah, I really want to see this year's CES, and we get hourly reports on what's being released there, and of course part of our new television operation next fall is going to be, I'm sure some of this stuff that's going to be announced later today. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Mike, are you gonna go on over to the convention hall and see what's going on over there?
Sure, but we're having dinners here also for people who are coming in from all over the country.
That's great.
So we'll be entertaining right here. We're very close to the convention center.
Great.
It's very easy for people because it's easier to come here. Parking is a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Parking will be miserable over there.
Well, parking's very easy at your place because you've got security. Oh.
Oh, that's for sure.
And for folks just tuning in, Mike raises dogs.
Dobermans.
Dobermans. Big,
only Doberman, red Dobermans.
Big dogs. So
big red Dobermans.
Yeah, so he's got the most secure house in all of Las Vegas.
Yes, and one of the red Dobermans can fly first class, can fly on Southwest Airlines in the front of the plane. Providing there's seats available.
Yeah, but can he fly it?
Can he fly it, right? Hey, Mike, I'd like to see what happens when he needs to use the restroom. How the heck does that work?
Oh, they have to be able to hold it. But that's amazing, because when I lived on the top floor at 30 West 63rd Street in New York, we never had a problem. The dogs would go to Central Park twice a day, and they seem to do very well with that. They seem to regulate themselves better than us.
Mike, somehow, some way, you need to get with the ad agency for Southwest. That would be a funny television commercial. One of your dogs in first class at Southwest. I mean, I think that would be hysterical.
Yeah, and she intermingles with the passengers and acts just like a passenger. She communicates with them.
Yeah, hey, it worked for the San Diego Chicken. She could be the new mascot for Southwest. Think about that. I mean, there's a whole marketing plan here. My God, that's great. Well, it's so. How many folks do you think you're going to get a chance to meet through the CES this week?
Well, a lot. It's really a great show. It's the biggest show of the year in Las Vegas, and of course, as you said, there's 150 to 175,000 people here, and it's well absorbed. It's not like there's real tough long lines.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's well absorbed.
But at night, Greg, you won't be able to find any $5 blackjack tables.
Well, okay.
Even on a Monday or a Tuesday.
Yeah, well.
But if you live in Las Vegas, gambling is very boring.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to gamble anymore. It's just boring. I mean, it takes too much time to make too little money.
Don't tell that to Steve Wynn.
Yeah.
But the more people I run into that do regular traveling to Las Vegas, they're all talking about shows, and nobody is talking about the tables anymore. So, Mike, you're onto something. I mean, it's like the whole, and even if you look at
you have big entertainment people signing multi-year contracts.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
In order to be in a specific facility.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's frankly, it's been upgraded fairly dramatically. I mean, I don't know how many people really want to see Carrot Top. But Celine Dion or Britney Spears or, any of the, hotter people. I mean, it's kind of like the Wayne Newton business plan.
Oh, God,
the way that, he had his own theater, and that's what it was.
I want you to know that is the first mention of Wayne Newton in 9 years of this show. I can't believe
you got a prize?
Can't believe you mentioned Wayne Newton. Oh my!
Well, because he was really the first big star that a casino made an investment in having him exclusively.
Well,
I don't think there was anybody before that.
Sure,
I mean,
Sinatra,
the Rat
Sammy.
Pack guys,
Yeah,
they went to the Stardust, or they went to the Tropicana, or they moved around.
Yeah.
But the big name in the marquee is clearly coming back.
Yep, got that right. Well, hey, guys, PrincetonResearch.com is...
Rule 17B.
Yep.
Target Energy pays Princeton Research $2,500 a month to do investor relations.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Well, Charles, are you doing your conference call tomorrow?
I am. The number is 712-432-0075, and the PIN number is 614426.
All right. Hey, guys, we'll talk to you next week. Great first show.
That's, what time is that?
That's tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock Eastern time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Aha. Okay.
Very good.
All right. Talk to you next week, guys. Mike King, Charles Moskowitz, and, of course, Gary in Connecticut, along with Mr. Ross Dinsdale of Target Energy in Australia. WPSL, Port St. Lucie.